I'm on page 191, and we're looking at a piecewise function. We are supposed to graph the piecewise function. So I went ahead off camera and set that up for you. And you can pause the video and copy this piecewise. The function is actually right here. It's the part that's left behind. These are just the conditions that we have to apply. So I went ahead and wrote them out, and I color coded them. And then over here in my table of values, I'm going to color code as well. I'm going to pick 2 points for the orange one. There is only one option for the blue one, and we'll talk about that when we get there. And then the yellow one, I will pick 2 points as well. So we have to pick some points that meet the conditions. All right, so for the orange one, my x values must be less than -1. So I'm going to go with -2 and -3. For my blue part of this function, x has to be exactly -1. It tells me right here that x can only be -1. And if that's the case, the y output will be 0. So I can go ahead, I don't have to do any math for that one. If x is -1, y is 0. So this is an x-intercept. And then for the yellow ones, I'm going to use values larger than -1. And so I'm going to use 0 and +1. So this will be a y-intercept. Okay, so we have to do some math on 4 of these. And I'm going to start with the orange group. Let's pull that on this side so I have a little more room. Okay, so the orange one is f of x equals x minus 1 if x is less than -1. So in this case, f is -2. So -2 minus 1 is going to be -3. So the y for this one is -3. And again, I use the orange piece because my x was less than -1. So here comes an f of -3. Again, that's less than -1, so I'm using this orange function. And the answer is -4, so we'll put that in there. And again, I use the orange rule for this piece. We did our blue one, so now let's use the yellow one. And the yellow one is f of x equals -x plus 1 when x is bigger than -1. So we're using 0 as our value for x. And 0 is neither positive or negative, but that negative sign's in there. So we just end up with 1. And that's coming from the yellow rule. When x is 0, y is 1. And then we have f of 1 equals 1 plus 1. Sorry, that's -1. So that would be 0. There's another x-intercept. And that's happening because we're doing pieces of a graph, not just one big graph. So here is another x-intercept. And we're supposed to actually graph this thing. So I will need a coordinate plane, because not just quadrant 1, because we have negative numbers involved here. And we have the first one is -2, -3. So back 2 and down 3. And then I had -3, -4, back 3, down 4. And the condition on this one is that x is less than -1. So I want to stair-step my way to the point where x is -1. And I'm doing that with a laser pointer. I'm going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and there is x of -1. It's back 1 away from the y-axis. And at that point, I'm going to put an open circle. I'm not going to color it, because this is less than, not less than equal to. If it were less than equal, then I would color it in, but it isn't. It's just less than. And this function starts at that open circle and passes through those points. So that is the orange piece of my function. And let's color it orange, just so we know that's the orange piece. All right, then we have the blue piece, which is simply a point. It's -1, 0, back 1, up none. This is a colored point because it has equals. So that's the blue piece, and that's all we have to do. Then for the yellow line, I'm going to go 0, 1. So over none, up 1. That's a y-intercept. And then over 1, up 0. That's an x-intercept. And the condition on this one is right here. X is greater than -1. So I'm going to stair-step my way back to -1. So up 1, back 1, up 1, back 1. And right there is x of -1. And again, I'm going to do an open circle there because we don't have less than or greater than equal to. We just have greater than. And this one is going to be going this direction. It has a negative slope. And this is the yellow piece of the piecewise function. So you have 3 functions really going on in one graph. And you have to piece them together to get your graph. It's a pretty graph, but it's not an easy one to make. If you have questions about piecewise functions, talk with your instructor, and he or she can help you with that.